it's complicated because like left versus right is such a hard thing. Like I'm certainly on the left in terms of my political ideas, and I want to create work that is not racist and hateful. And if that makes me an SJW, then like call me whatever you want. Right. But I wanted to be lumped into that category when I wrote Whiteface, and I called it Whiteface so that specifically I wanted to attract racists. Like I wanted people to be like, that's racist and offensive, and then come to the show so that they could be a part of that audience that is just listening to like this one. So it's not a conversation. Like
it's still a big deal to you. You want to talk to the fucking racists about this.
Yeah, and I do. And I wanted them to come see this show, but I think a lot of them never would. I mean, right. There was a little bit of online content where people were like, this is offensive. If this is not racist, then blackface isn't racist. And it's like, see the show and I promise you, your mind will be changed. Right. But it's harder to have that conversation with those people. Like I don't go on Facebook comments anymore. I don't go on online because a lot of that stuff is just people who can hide behind a screen and yell about like all of this hateful garbage.
It becomes so clear that they're just talking about a talking point and not talking about what you're doing anyway, right?
Totally. Yeah. They've made up their mind. And I think it's really important when you do have an intense political idea is that you need to be able to ask yourself the questions that would change your mind, or ask like be aware of the argument that is against yourself. And
yes, you gotta. What is it? Steelman. You gotta steelman your argument rather than straw man. Right?
Yeah.
Like I hate people that throw up arguments that are just so like that you're not even arguing what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
You're just making some shit up in your head.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you're coming through with this process, have you had any?
No, nobody openly was like a racist that I know came to see our show. And if they were there, then they haven't said anything. There was no conversation afterwards. We invite people to come and talk to us after the show just to like keep the conversations going. We had 2 people walk out at one point. I think there's maybe been more walkouts over the show who just like sort of once it starts, they're like, oh, actually, this is not
for me.
But
I mean, that's comedy, right?
Yeah. That was the goal, is to like get people on an opposite side of this idea to come and see this show that is about this argument and presented in a way that is not just like it's not just argument. It's not like it's an in-depth picture of what it feels like for cultural appropriation.
Right.
Because if you look at the characters and say like, oh, that's racist and you're misrepresenting me, then it's like, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm doing that on purpose so that you see that is happening all the time to Indigenous people or people of color. And when we say like we're being misrepresented and this is offensive, then people are like, it's not offensive. You're just a crybaby.
Yeah, you're just.
And it's like, okay, well then come see my show and see how it feels. Like that's sort of like just flipping the narrative and trying to flip the perspective, because it's more than like wearing racist costumes is offensive. It's not about it being offensive. Like. And being offended is not, like, in my opinion, it's not like a weakness. It's like I'm not offended because I'm oversensitive. I'm offended because I'm pissed off, and I have many reasons to be pissed off, because since I was a kid, I have felt this intense frustration that I've like dealt with in many different ways to get to the point of telling comedy. And then finally people just sum up all that work with like, you're oversensitive. I'm like, man, that's really not, that's
you're
really
missing
not
a lot.
what is going on in reality. So yeah, like a cultural appropriation is a damaging thing because it reduces Native people to just one specific image without us being able to progress into more political and solid things.
Talk to me, because the cultural appropriation idea, because like that argument is, whenever I hear the both ends of the argument, we're getting dangerously close to good people on both sides, whatever. But like when you hear the argument for and against cultural appropriation and the steel man arguments, not the straw man bullshit, but like there's a real honesty about the world is better because we're able to absorb other cultures. You know what I mean? Like I can take from you and take the best parts of you, and you can take the best parts of me, and we can create something better.
So long as it doesn't damage, so long as you're not taking a vital thing from one
Right.
and then them suffering because of it.
Right.
And the legacy of colonialism in Canada is all taking from Indigenous people and none giving back. Yeah. So when I do talk about cultural appropriation...
But casinos... Sorry, I had to be that asshole for a second.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like... Because wealth disparity is totally a thing. Like if one group has a casino, that doesn't mean every Native person gets money from it. But I always say you can't dress up as an Indian yet, because like the yet is the biggest part of it. It's not like, no, this is never allowed. It's like, no, Native people just aren't at the same level of representation in society for it to make sense. Like you dress up as a Mountie, then no one will say anything because Mounties aren't at risk of dying. Like Native people, like there are missing and murdered Indigenous women in this country that have not been addressed. This is an epidemic. There's an epidemic of suicide rates in a lot of Indigenous communities. Like all of this really like intense danger that is happening to Native people is like keeping us on a lower like societal spectrum. So like we're not at an equal place. And this isn't me just saying like, I want to be down here. Hell no, I don't want to be down here. I want to be on the same survival rate as other Indigenous or as other people in Canada. But the fact of the matter is that they're just not represented equally. Mm-hmm. Once there is some semblance of equity and both or all cultures are represented in the same way, then for sure, toss on a headdress, because we will have a government system that will be like, yeah, you guys can wear headdresses, even though these mean a lot more than just those fake things. Like, Mountie will not lose its power.
Please let me be very specific. When I was talking about cultural appropriation being okay, I was not talking about headdresses at festivals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But like, there are cultural things that are good to be absorbed, like language, but it's just hard now, because if there's more non-Indigenous people speaking a language that Indigenous people are trying to learn, or if there's more non-Indigenous people wearing the things that Native people want to wear but can't afford, like it really just keeps Native people further down on this equity sort of spectrum. Like, absolutely, everybody should wear mucklucks because they're nice and warm and everything, but if they're only being produced in a way that...
As a costume.
As a costume, or because they're pretty, or like... Because I hate the argument when people are like, "Oh, I'm doing this because I respect you and like I'm all about that spiritual like life, and because it's like the style is really nice." It's like, great, that doesn't help me if you like wearing beads or colors, because I still have family members who have died from suffering from this thing. Like that's not the help that Indigenous people need. And if people are like, I want to buy mucklucks because I want to help, it's like, okay, well, then convince Trudeau to put fresh, clean drinking water on Indigenous reserves, because
that part of it blows.
Don't forget, you can subscribe to our full audio episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your audio podcasts. The full episodes, highlights, and our live off-the-floor performance videos can be found at our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the AVB Podcast. Of course, you'll find links to our incredible sponsors and this week's guest in the description below. The AVB Podcast is part of the Border City Network. Find more great content at bordercitynetwork.com. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.